Hi, welcome to another episode of Master Your Money. Today, I'm honored to have my special guest, Jean. And Jean, why don't you tell everybody about yourself?
Hi. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jean Napolitano de Belen. I came from Philippines. Um,
Where did you come from? You were not from Manila, right?
yeah, I was born in Oriental Mindoro.
So Oriental Mindoro is an island, quite a big one, south of Manila. So you have to get there by ferry. So you grew up there where?
Remote place in the Philippines. So, being a child, uh, growing up on that remote place, it's not easy.
Mhm.
We cannot buy anything there. That's normal.
No stores.
Yes, we just no other shops there.
It's a small village.
Yeah, small village.
Wow.
It's remote place.
Yeah.
There's no neighbor. So when my parents went to the market, once a week only.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what about things like water and basics?
So we use water in the river, just very clear water.
Hmm.
That's what I experienced.
Coming down from the hills.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys have land? Was it like a farm?
Yeah, my father has one land. My father actually he is a farmer,
A
and
farmer.
my mother just plain housewife like
Yeah.
other mother did.
Yeah. Looking after the kids.
Yes,
How many siblings did you have?
we have 7 siblings.
7 kids.
Yeah, I'm
That's a big
the
family.
Third, yeah, I am the third.
Number 3.
Yes.
Oh, nice. How many brothers and sisters?
I have eldest brother, eldest sister. I'm next third, and then 4 brothers and one younger sister.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So you guys grew up in the countryside.
Yeah.
And where did you go to school?
If it's raining, it's very difficult to go. We used to travel by Carabao. Do you know Carabao is?
No.
I like cow, the black one. I don't know how to specify that kind. We travel there. My father put me there, and then because the it's very mud.
Very muddy.
Yeah, very muddy. So
during rain.
yeah, yes.
And you said it was a cow.
Yeah.
The cow with a cart, and you would sit in the
Yeah,
cart,
yeah.
and the cow would pull you. How long did it take to get to school?
Maybe 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, how many years of education did you get that way?
Maybe around when I was grade 4, we moved
You moved.
to another place because
Okay.
something happened. It's a long story. My father got ill, and then we need to move to the other place with my mom grown up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so, the next place you moved to then, was it a bigger town or a city, or where were you?
It's quite a city already.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where was that in the Philippines? Is that north or south or
It's
where?
same like south. It's because we moved to other place.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So your father got ill,
Yeah.
and so then who was raising you at that time when your father was sick?
My father have a positive. We have a small business before,
Okay.
like buying some fruits,
Yeah.
and my father brought there in Manila to sell it.
Yeah.
And then when my father was ill, he become no.
Can't do the business.
Yeah, and I can do the business. So we
Yeah.
are trapped of that business. So my mother don't know how to manage.
Yeah.
So we lost everything.
Oh, wow.
As I heard, one of his friend, get some money from that. So we lost everything. So they start again.
And what did they do then? What was the start again? Did your father become healthy again eventually?
Yeah, after a year, my father become healthy, and then they start to think how can they bring it back
Yeah.
the way we have
So you weren't,
before.
but he left the farm. You guys left the farm, and now you're in a smaller city. And he had a business selling fruit, but because he was sick, that had to stop. So then, what did your mother do?
I think my mother just hired some people to plant our rice field.
Oh wow!
And then
so you
for out to support us.
You were in a city, but you guys still had access to land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when my father got healthy already, he thinks that he can rent land by planting some watermelon like that. It's easy to harvest, like some leafy vegetable. Yeah,
wow. So then when you got to the city, you continued with your education?
Yeah, we continued.
Until what age did you keep going?
Until I was grade 6. That's the difficult times happen already because my parents talking about money that we need to stop in studying.
Stop the studies.
Yes. And then on that time, my eldest brother, my sister and me, we talk. At my age, around 12, I was grade 6.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we act as siblings. That I think my brother's already 16, and then my eldest sister's 14. I was 12 at that time. So my brother stepped up and talked to my father that he will manage the small land.
Okay.
And then he talked about he need to stop.
Yeah.
To study.
Stop his studies. And so you stopped studying at the age of 12?
No, I still continue, but my brother did.
Your brother stopped.
Yeah.
So he was 12, sorry, or 16?
16.
At 16, right. And then for you, what was next for you then? You kept studying? I
stopped 2 years after I graduated in year 6. So I decided to work in Manila as a maid or helper.
Yeah.
We call that as helper.
Yeah.
One of our neighbor is helping me
Okay.
to find a job in Manila.
And you were how old when you did that?
13.
13 years old, 13. You started working?
Yeah, as a maid.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Where did you live if you went to Manila?
Yeah, I live with my employer in Manila.
Okay.
With my neighbor, we call neighbor. And then we start, ironing like every house course that we did to help. And then because they are Australian, he talked to me. On that time, I don't know how to speak English. We just sign language.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they asked me if I want to study in high school. I said yes, but how? In Manila, there is offering a night study in high school. Okay. So they enrolled me.
The Australian family.
Yeah, enrolled me to continue my study.
Oh, wow.
So I was very lucky and grateful to have that.
Amazing. So then you were able to work, but at the same time you could study through high school.
Yeah, at night.
And so one of the big purposes of this interview today is to talk about your financial journey. And, because you and I are friends and you've told me how over time, you and your husband have managed to buy some rental properties in the Philippines and so on. So I'm really curious, and I think our audience will be really curious as well, to learn about at this young age, when you started working at the age of 13, 14 years old, you're working as a maid, as a domestic helper during the day, you're studying at night. What did you do with your income at that age, at 13, 14? Did all your money go back to your family?
All the money that I earn is go back to my family, to help my parents.
To help your parents.
young siblings that I have.
And how did you get the money to them? Because you were in Manila, but they were in another city.
By sending messenger, like a neighbor went back to our place, and
Yeah.
we just give it.
And they brought the cash.
Yes.
So how do you know you can trust the neighbor to give all the money?
I don't know that time, because I think on that time you can trust some people, not like at our generations.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So back then you had a neighbor or a family friend or someone who was going back to the smaller city where your parents were, and they would bring your money.
Yes.
So at what age did you start saving for yourself?
I really don't know how to save on that time.
Yeah,
I just
can
keep
imagine.
working
Yeah.
and then sending back to my family.
And of the money that you made, how much were you able to keep for yourself
No.
for any kind of spending
I
locally?
didn't keep for myself.
Nothing.
Nothing.
And that went on until what age?
I think around 15.
Till 15.
Yeah.
So 2-3 years.
Yes.
Okay. And then what changed?
When my auntie get me and feel pity, why?
What does that mean?
Because my auntie is quite, he knows that I'm not the one who will, like getting a job, a low job like a helper. So my auntie talked to me that I can stay with her family and then continue studying.
So when you say auntie, do you mean someone who's a member of your family?
My youngest mother.
Who's that?
My younger sister of my mother.
So a real family auntie, because I know in Asia sometimes we call the friends or someone you're working for, you might call them auntie, but that's not who you mean. You mean your sister's, your mother's sister.
Yes.
Okay, and so you went to live with her?
Yes.
Okay, and then what happened next?
I continue until college.
Until
they
college.
Support me.
Okay.
Studying.
So they were supporting you studying, and you were working at that time?
No.
After 15? No, you just went back to study full time. Okay. And then did you enter college?
Yes, I did.
And you did a degree?
Yes.
What was your degree in?
Business management.
In business management.
But I haven't used because I went to Taiwan already.
During when you were studying, you went to Taiwan?
After I graduated.
When you graduated?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were how old when you graduated from university?
22. I was pregnant already.
Pregnant already at 22?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry for
Yeah. Were you married already?
After I pregnant, after 6 months, we married in civil. Yeah.
What is civil?
It's like, I don't know how to say.
Oh, civil, in the civil service. Yeah. Okay. So you and your husband, are you still together?
Yes.
So many years. How many years is that?
I was separated, really, to be honest. I was separated for 19 years.
Separated?
Yeah.
For 19 years?
Yeah, I was single mom.
Oh, wow.
Because I got married at an early age of 22.
Yeah, it's very young.
At the age of 23, I have a baby.
Yeah.
So we argue about financial, how to pay our rent, how to pay food for milk for our child. So that's the start.
So you and your husband started to argue about money.
Yes.
And can you talk us through that a little bit? What was his thinking? What was your thinking? And why was there a difference?
Because on that, I'm not prepared as a mother, and he was not also prepared being a father.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet how to build a family, right?
Sure.
So when I deliver my baby, of course she need milk or everything.
Yeah.
So we don't know what to do. So with the help of both parents, they support us.
So the family's helping. Were you both working at that time?
My husband is working.
So he was working. And then when you graduated and had the baby, how soon after that did you go overseas?
After 2 years.
After 2 years.
I got another child again. When my child was 3 months old, I was pregnant again. Yeah. Wow. So I don't know how to explain to my mom. My parents got upset.
Yeah.
Why? You don't
Yeah.
know how to, and then why?
Yeah.
And then that's the start. You are thinking, how can I raise my family like this?
Yeah.
And then I start.
Such a young age,
yeah,
right? To
yeah.
have 2 children already.
And they both drinking milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. So you had some differences with your husband about money.
Yes.
Would you tell me a little bit about that? How was he raised with money, and how would you say you were raised with money? What were the differences?
The differences I always give to others.
Mm-hmm.
My husband doesn't want. So we stop arguing. If my siblings need something, I'm easily, okay, I'll find a way to give
help
you
them.
to support your studying.
Yeah.
That's that time my husband is very angry. How can you manage this one? We have 2 babies like this.
Right.
Yeah.
But your generosity to give to others is a beautiful thing. But he also is being practical, I think, saying, "Look, we have 2 babies. What can we do here, right? We need
right.
the money." So how did you balance that?
For that, I think we start arguing a lot on that time until my father found that I'm becoming skinny and then talked to me what happened. On that time, my father offered to my husband that why don't you go overseas to work because you are capable to work.
For him or for you?
For him.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because my feet was lamb, right? Like I considered myself as disabled. So my peer, I want to go overseas, but how? Because of my disabled situation. Because my husband is quite, I don't know how to say, very shy,
Okay.
don't have confidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not a confident person.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did that impact?
You just ignore my father. And then one time, my father heard that 2 of my cousin went to Taiwan. That's the start. My father talked to me.
Said to you, maybe you should go overseas.
Yeah.
Ah.
To provide more
for the family.
Germany.
Okay. So the thinking was then your husband didn't want to go overseas, and he was shy or didn't have the confidence to be able to do that. So you decided that you would.
Yeah.
That it would be best for the family if you went overseas to start working. Okay. So in terms of the financial impact then, you've been overseas for how many years now?
22.
22 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And you said that you and your husband separated for the last 19 years.
Yeah.
So who's raising the children?
My parents.
Your parents are. Wow. Okay. And you didn't ever divorce?
No, in Philippines, there's no divorce.
There's no divorce?
Yeah, we just sign agreement that we both support the child.
Okay. Interesting. And so in your financial journey then, once you started moving overseas, what did that mean in terms of money that was being sent back? Did you needed to live overseas also for yourself, you needed money for you. But I know in our discussions, you've talked about how you wanted to plan for your future. So when did you start thinking about, I need to provide for my children and family, but I also need to provide for my future? When was that thinking coming in?
To be honest, I never think how to provide my family. I just want to send back money, send back. I never think that I have to save in myself or my family because I think my parents is the one who take care of my kids. So I need to work hard and then send it back the money in the Philippines to, take care of my child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you started working in Taiwan, how much money did you earn per month?
It's in peso, it's quite 30,000 or 35. It depends the overtime.
So in US dollars, what would that be?
500 something.
About 500 US per month?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was 20 years ago, roughly.
Roughly 18.
Yeah, 22 years ago. Yeah. So you were earning $500 a month
Mm.
and US, and how much of that did you send back every month?
Because we have to pay in the agency, so maybe around 350.
So the agency was a debt that you owed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the agency helps you come overseas.
Yes.
And so what did that cost? How much was that?
We pay 160,000 in peso. I don't know how to convert in.
So 106. So if you said about 35,000 was 500 US.
Yeah.
So 160,000, call it 2,500 US.
Yeah.
2,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
They deducted every month.
So you had a debt when you first went overseas of about 2,500 US. That's a lot of money for you back then, right? You were just young, right?
Yeah.
So every month the agency deducted from your pay.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you first do when you arrived in Taiwan? What was your job?
I was working in the factory as a sewer.
As a sewer?
Yeah.
With the machine?
Yes.
And what were you?
Machine.
So t-shirts, shirts, clothing?
Underwear.
Underwear.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And how many people were in the factory?
Around 45 people.
Oh, so not so big. It's not like there's 10,000 people.
It's only a family business. They call it Chinese.
Okay. A local Chinese family in Taiwan.
Yes.
Okay. And where did you live at that time?
They provide dormitory for us.
Dormitory. Mm-hmm. So you could live for free, effectively. Yeah. And then what did you do for food?
They are also free.
Oh, it was provided?
Provided.
Okay.
Board and lodging, I think.
Okay. So of the $500 per month that you were earning, 150 of that went to pay the agent.
Yeah.
And 350 then all the rest of it went home.
Yes.
So you didn't have any savings at that time. You were just paying off debt.
Yeah.
And so how long, so if it was about 2,500 US and you're paying about 150 US per month, it would take quite a long time to pay that off. Yeah. Right?
Almost 2 years something.
About 2 years. And so every month you paid that $150. And then when the agency fee was all paid off and the debt was clear, then what did you do with that money?
Our factory decided to cut off 3,000 for our savings so that when we go back home, we have savings to bring back to our family.
So the factory started to deduct savings. And what did they do with that money?
They just deduct it, and then when you go back home, you just give it.
But did you calculate and know that they were doing
the payment?
Yeah, they were not taking any away from you. They weren't hiding. But did they invest that money?
I don't know. Just the rules in the factory not to run away because a lot of. That's why
So in a way, they trap you there.
Yeah.
Because they have this money, and if you want that money, you need to keep working.
Yeah.
So how long was the contract for? Like, when could you actually leave that factory if you wanted to?
Every 3 years we have.
Every 3 years? Wow. And were you ever able, during those 3-year contract, how often were you allowed to go back to Philippines?
Around 2 months, I think. After you finish your contract, you process again your papers to come back. So you have to expend another for the agency. The agency will.
You had another agency fee. Wow. Okay, this is getting complicated. So, in those 3 years, were you allowed to travel or not until the end of the contract?
It depends. If there is an emergency.
If no emergency,
you stay.
Then you cannot go back. So
I think in our contract, every year we have a vacation for 7 days. But I choose to stay because, when you go back home, you spend money. So
it's
expensive.
I try to
save. So I finished the 3 years contract before I went back home to process.
So you didn't see your little kids for 3 years?
Yeah, no.
That's hard.
By writing, on that times, 90s, we keep writing, sending pictures.
No emails, no video, all that, right? Not like we have today, right? Wow. So that's really hard. That's a difficult time. So the company forced some savings. They did a deduction, but you also had some money left over because you sent 350 home usually. Then when the debt was paid off for the agency, there was some money left. Did all of that money go home afterwards, or did you start saving?
No, that's all the money go home.
So when you paid off the debt to the agency, the debt that the amount of money, that $150, could go back to the Philippines, except for the amount that the company saved,
Yeah.
that they deducted automatically.
Yes.
So that's when you really were sort of forced savings, right?
Yeah, forced.
So then, how many years did you spend in those factories?
11 years.
11 years. Wow. And how did it come to an end? What was the next step?
When the company closed.
Oh, they
moved
shut
to
down.
China. Yeah.
And did you get all your savings back from them when they closed?
Every 3 years when your contract is done, they give it all back.
They'd give it to you.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with that money at that time? You had this big lump sum, right?
On the first 3 years of my first contract, I have to pay that my father found our land to support me to go in Taiwan. So I have to pay 180 because my father found our land.
He found some land, and I don't understand what you explained. So you had a lump sum of money after your 3 years. You gave that to your father to help pay for the land.
Yes.
Okay, so that was really an investment into property for your mom and dad, right? So that money went to them to help them buy the land. Okay. And then after the next 3-year contract, what did you do with that money?
We helped my younger siblings to raise and send back to the school.
So you sent it to family to help pay for education and other things. You didn't invest that money. No. So when did you start buying you told me you how many rental properties do you guys have now?
2.
2, right? Yeah. When did you start buying those?
When my eldest daughter passed on the scholarship in the university. So I don't need to pay every month for tuition fee. I start savings.
Oh, so what age was that? How long ago?
4 years. Keep starting a small amount, not really big.
Yeah.
Small amount in the bank. Just keeps
putting away. Yeah, every month a little bit.
Until I found that I have 100,000. I bought properties in Manila. That's my house.
So let me take a step backwards with you. So you're saying just 4 years ago you started saving?
No, it was 2016.
So what did you mean? What was the 4 years? You said after 4 years. I was a bit confused.
When my daughter, passed on the scholarship in the university, I start savings.
At that point?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was around when? 2016.
Yeah.
So we're talking 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, and so at that point, because she got a scholarship, you were able to save money because you didn't have to pay for university.
Yeah.
Very good. So you started saving at that point, and of how much money were you earning per month by then, back in 2016? Do you remember?
I earned 40 to 45,000 in
pesos. But you were here in Hong Kong by then, or still
2017.
17. You came to Hong Kong, and how much were you earning in Hong Kong dollars per month?
The first I came is 4,610.
4,600. So about $600 a month.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And of that, how much of that money went back to Philippines?
Only NHKD, only maybe 2,000.
2,000 went back?
Yeah.
And the rest you could keep here?
Yeah.
And you opened a bank account and started saving?
Yes.
Okay. So then with that money, how long did it take before you decided to buy your first property? So let me just get this straight. So you were earning 4,600. You sent home less than half, so about say 40%. You sent home about 2,000, and then the other 2,600. How much did you save, and how much did you use for your monthly spending?
I spent for myself only the remaining 610. the
600 you spend,
yeah,
and then you put 2,000 per month, Hong Kong dollars per month into
the
savings,
yeah.
into the bank. Wow. So if we, do I have a calculator here? So let's look at this. So you did, so basically 2,000 out of 4,600. So you had a 43% savings rate.
Yeah.
Amazing. 43% savings per month. So you only spent 13% of your
Yeah.
total salary per month. And do you have to pay Hong Kong tax?
I think the employer is the one who
Yeah.
pay that.
So in Hong Kong, when you work as a domestic helper, the employer actually pays any salaries tax. And honestly, I haven't had it. I'm not sure how that works, how much is paid, but you don't actually pay the tax,
Yeah, no.
right? So on a net basis, Jean would be earning just under 600 US a month. And this was 7 years ago. And are you earning about the same now or a bit more now?
A bit more now.
Yeah. So back then, so 7 years ago, she was saving more than 40% of her take home pay every month. 40%, but she's on a small base, right? She's earning, around 600 US dollars per month. But in Hong Kong, you get rent is provided by your accommodation is provided by your employer.
Yeah.
And what about food every day?
Provide.
Also the employer, right? So her food and boarding are provided by the employer. And so really your spending is on your day off, right?
Yeah,
So
day
if you want to take some transportation or you buy some snacks or some
Yeah.
clothing for yourself or something. But on average, she's only spending 600 Hong Kong dollars, about 80 US dollars a month she spends. So she doesn't spend very much at all. So 2,000 or 43% of her take home pay, she's saving every month. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. So then 2016, you start saving that amount of money because your daughter has a scholarship.
Mhm.
And how long were you saving before you were able to buy a property in Manila?
I don't remember really how
Okay.
many years already.
But a few years.
Yeah, a few years.
And then did you have to buy the property? Did you just save until you could buy 100%, or did you get a mortgage?
Mortgage.
And who financed the mortgage? A local Philippine company?
Yeah, local Philippine company.
And it wasn't a bank, it was
It's I don't know how to call this. It was one of our Philippine, I don't know how to.
Is it one of the agencies for the domestic helpers? So they know that you are working as a migrant?
Sounds like agency for OFW,
overseas foreign workers. Yeah. And so they know what you're doing. They see your contract, and so they lend knowing that you have that contract.
Yes.
And how much interest do you pay on the loan?
2%.
2%?
Yeah.
Per year, 2%. And with interest rates rising over the last year, it's fixed. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that interest rates are going up, your mortgage is fixed rate.
Yeah, fixed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And so how much in US dollars or how much in peso would the property cost? And what kind of property was it? 1 bedroom, studio, 2 bedroom, a house? What was it?
I have 2 units.
Two
Every
units.
units have 1 bedroom.
Okay.
So I got 2 units condo.
So 2 1-bedroom condos.
Yeah.
And you have mortgage on both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so what would a 1-bedroom in Manila, what would that cost?
I think it's 20. What do you mean? What is cost? 2.
To buy the condo, the total cost.
2.5.
2.5 million pesos.
Yeah.
So what is that in US dollars? Let me have a look here. We'll do this while we're recording.
Yeah.
Jean was super nervous to do this, and so we decided to do one take, and we're just talking.
Yeah.
And so this is all being done on the fly, if you will. So let me look up foreign exchange. And you said 2.5 million pesos. Okay, my app is just reloading. Okay, so let me have a look here. I'm using the app xe.com for foreign exchange. So it looks like, I don't know if you probably can't see that. But it's an excellent app for, no, can't show it to you. Where's peso? Right here. Okay, so if I do 2.5 million, correct?
Yes.
Done. So 2.5 million pesos in US dollars, about 45 to 50,000 US dollars for a 1-bedroom condo.
Yeah.
So how far out of the core downtown, like what's the main downtown area? Makati?
Near, close in Makati.
It's close by,
Yeah.
and it's 45,000 US. That's not that expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so what kind of building is it in? How many units? How many towers? What's it like?
There are 3 towers. We are in 6th floor, I think.
6th floor.
Yeah.
How many floors would there be?
18 only.
18 only, so not so big. And how many apartments per floor?
I am not really sure how many apartments.
Maybe 6 or 8 or 10, something like that?
5 or 6.
5 or 6 apartments. And is it all new construction?
Yes, all new.
Oh, wow. Wow. So the message here and why I wanted to bring Jean on is that, Jean earns now what? How much do you earn per month if you're willing to share?
6 something.
Yeah, so she's earning about 800 US a month on a net basis. So that's after rent, after food that is provided by her employer, and she doesn't pay the tax on that. So she's got net take home for her is probably about 800 US a month, right? So, this lesson and Jean's story is a beautiful thing because it shows you with not very much money, Jean sacrifices her present, spending to be able to save and invest and buy these properties. She's earning 700-800 US dollars per month, but she's already purchased 2 50,000 US dollar apartments, and they're rentals, right? They're being rented every month. So who manages those for you?
My daughter.
Your daughter does.
My eldest daughter.
Yeah. So she's working now?
Yeah.
And so she looks after the rental. And you've saved, and so presumably now, are you saving more money to buy another one again?
It's our
that's the project.
Yeah.
And are your daughters also saving to help to buy together?
Yeah, my daughter also.
So they're learning from you how to save their money.
Yes.
Are they good at it?
Yeah, they're good.
They're doing well. So it's amazing. This is what's so impressive to me, and what I wanted to share with people out there. Whether you're in Canada or the US or you're in the UK, or maybe you're listening to this from Indonesia or South Africa or somewhere, it's not about how much money you make. It's how much money you save. And Jean is saving every month 40 to 50% of her net take home. She spends very little. She's only spending each month about 13% of her net income after rent, after food, which she doesn't pay for, that's provided by her employer. But the point is, depending on how much money you make, is to keep your rent or your mortgage costs as low as possible. Don't overspend. Don't take on too much house that your mortgage costs are so much that you're not able to save for anything else, right? Keep your spending on food down to a minimum. Yes, we all want to eat healthy and live healthy lives, but we want to keep our costs down and not get into debt. Do you have debt other than the mortgages? Do you have any other debt? No. So Jean paid off her debt early on in her life when she had agency debt, the agency that brought her overseas. She's paid all that debt off. And the first thing she did was pay it all off. And then she's remained debt free ever since. So she still sends money home for family, but she also then saves, more than 40%. She has a very high savings rate. And that's the thing. When you don't have so much money, it's what your savings rate is that really is most important. So, what kind of advice would you give to people based on your journey, and your experience living overseas and the way you've been saving and the way you've been investing with your daughters? What would you recommend to people, or what advice would you give them?
I think stop buying things is not necessary. Like
Don't
that,
buy.
like expensive bag that you
Yeah.
cannot use or beautiful clothes. I only buy clothes for myself. It's used for other people, so I didn't buy
Second
a
hand
second hand. So because it's just
stuff.
yeah, just stop on hanging on the wardrobe for
Yeah.
yeah. That's I learned from my father.
Your father taught you that. What other money lessons did you learn from your mom and dad?
Because when I grow up, we have a lot. And then when my father ill, we fell down.
Yeah.
So we learn from that lesson because we can buy anything, whatever I want. Papa, we buy like this. And then something happened, you just bloom.
So a lot of what we talk about in financial education is having an emergency fund,
Yeah.
having money available in case you lose your job or you get
Yeah.
sick or something happens. So you learn this lesson that everything can be taken away very quickly.
Yes.
And you learned this lesson at a very young age.
Yes.
But I think what's remarkable, Jean, about your story is, many of us have these kind of lessons, but we don't take action the way you have. We decide we want to keep spending. We go into credit card debt. I mean, I did it in my 20s and my early 30s. I would spend on, as you said, like crazy things, just wanting to get the fancy watch or get the fancy car, right? And we spend so unnecessarily. And we're not thinking about the future. Maybe we're not thinking about if it's an emergency, we lose our job, or we have a big medical problem like your father, where you lost everything. He lost everything. And then the family had to get help from other members of the family and get rid of the farm where you lived and where you grew up, and you had money, and then you had nothing. It's a remarkable lesson. And so you've learned to live off very little and to save, to build for the future. So what's next for you? You and I have spoken before about you have a vision of a future where you would like to return to Philippines. What does that look like for you?
I really, that's my dream is I want to build a small farm.
Yeah.
That when I got old, I can just sit down, look for the carnivore or goat, just like that.
So you're imagining almost life like when you were a child.
Yeah.
Being back on the farm, having some property, having animals, or would you have a garden?
Garden, I think an animal should be, great.
And what about children and grandchildren? Do you want them near?
It depends.
Because they're in the city right now, right?
I don't know if they like to.
But for you, you'd like to have that farm back, like what your father had.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Jean, thank you so much for joining me here today. And thank you for sharing your story, because I know that it'll be very inspirational for a lot of our viewers and subscribers and people out there. I think you have certainly inspired me in our friendship and what you've shared with me, over the years. So Jean and I met about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So she was employed by a gentleman in the village where I live here in Hong Kong, and he passed away. He was not even 50. And Jean was helping him as a, domestic worker, but he had two children that she was helping to raise because he would go off every day to work. But he died. And a message went out to the people in the village here in Hong Kong and said, Jean needs some work. And I didn't have someone full time, but I didn't need it either. But I just thought, you know what, I'll help this person out, and I could use some help around the house. And so you came and worked for me part time.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. 2 months.
Yeah, but we've become friends. And one of the things we started talking about, our backgrounds and so on. But I was really impressed by Jean's view on money and how she's been saving and supporting her family and how little she lives on. And that's where I got the idea of this. But what we also do is we have your friends. We get together in a group.
Yeah.
And we do some group coaching.
Yeah.
And so we have had how many? Sort of 15?
15.
We've had 15 other domestic helpers come over to my house. I've got a rooftop where we sit and talk about money issues. And we've had some tears.
Yeah, some of them,
Yeah, but there's some people here that work for employers that are mean, that don't treat them well, that don't treat them, as with respect, and it's sad and it's frustrating. But we all talk together how to support each other as a community, and we talk about money issues. We talk about stress because a lot of the women that come overseas are expected to send money home, and the families can be put a lot of pressure, right, and can make them feel really guilty if they're not sending more and more and more, right? And in some cases they're forced into debt. The families say, oh, we have all this need, you need to go borrow money, and so they go, but typically it's usually loan sharks.
Yeah.
And they're paying very high interest, right? Yeah, it's scary how it operates here. And it's not just Hong Kong. I mean, it's all over Singapore and the Middle East and other places where these ladies end up working. They can get themselves into very bad financial positions. And so that's something that Jean and I have been working on together, is to bring friends of hers and friends from her community together to talk about these issues and talk about these problems and how to help each other, to find a better way to manage debt, to find a better way to talk to the family, to try and reduce financial stress, reduce some of the pressure from the family. And we've had a few of these gatherings so far, and we're having another one in April coming up. So look, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today, because I know you've been nervous.
Yeah, it's my honor to be here and one of your guests.
Yeah, of course. So thanks everybody for watching. This isn't live. We've done it taped because of some nervousness.
Sorry.
But it's been great. And we don't need to edit this. I think it's been a really lovely take. And I really appreciate you being here on a Sunday, taking some of your time off and coming to share with us. So thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.